Hello, I'm Abigail Albair. Many of you may know me as the editor of the Valley Press, but I'm here today in my capacity as a board member for Gifts of Love based in Avon. I'm here with Goode, the executive director of Gifts of Love, and we have a lot of information to share about the organization. So Diana, let's start with just an overview of what Gifts of Love is for anybody who may not know.
Absolutely. Gifts of Love is a nonprofit based in Avon that provides basic needs. We help people with food, clothes, energy, household items, and furniture. We helped about 13,000 people last year in the greater Hartford area. And most people need to be referred by a social worker or need to be working or enrolled in school. So that has been our basic guideline for quite a while. But if you live in the Farmington River Valley, there are no restrictions at all. Our feeling is if there are people in the valley that need help, we need to be there to help them. There are 90 food pantries in Hartford, and there are 5 of us out here in the valley. And we've been around for almost 25 years because of donors in the valley. And our feeling is if people need our help from the Farmington River Valley, then we're there for them.
And talk about some of the typical clients you may see, because there are a lot of people, especially today with the economic times that we've gone through, that you may be surprised to find need the help of an organization like Gifts of Love. So talk about that, because these are people's neighbors. And
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the reasons we got rid of the restriction in the Farmington River Valley, because I live in the valley. And in 2008, when the economy really tanked, my friends and neighbors were not coming to Gifts of Love because they'd had Boy Scouts or Girl Scout troops that I'd talked to, and they weren't working and they thought they didn't qualify. And I thought we really need to be here for our friends and neighbors. A lot of what we're seeing in the valley are people who were double income families and were fine, and now they're single income families and they're not fine. They can't afford to keep their houses, they can't afford to sell them for what they paid for them. The statistic that we use is for a family of 4, if you earn around $42,000, you don't qualify for any government assistance. So a lot of people in the valley, although they're now single income, they can't make ends meet, but they're above that $42,000 mark,
Sure.
And so they don't qualify for any government program. So that's really where Gifts of Love kicks in.
all right. And so in order to better serve the clients that you have, and you've recently moved locations, and so let's talk a little bit about that. Why did you decide to move, and what benefits does this new space offer you? Where is it? It's still in Avon.
It's still in Avon. Our address changed from 35 East Main Street to 34 East Main Street, and although that sounds really easy, it was not an easy move. We moved directly across the street into the old Wool Connection. We had gradually expanded in the past 7 years from kind of one office to another office with no plan at all. And in our old location, the office and the clothing room was in one location, and the food pantry and the household room and storage was in the other. And people would have to go back and forth across the parking lot. So when the weather is nice, that's fine. But when it's hot or it's snowing or it's raining, it's really difficult for volunteers and clients to be going back and forth. Also, their old Avon Village was sold, and the new owners, we had a great deal with the Augusts who were there. We were paying below market rent, and it was wonderful. And the new owners wanted to raise our rent, and that made me really uncomfortable because that's money that we need for program. So the office across the street, the Wool Connection, was vacant, and so we jumped at the opportunity. It's a huge move for us. You know, for 24 years, Gifts of Love has kind of rented one space here, one space there. In 2004, it rented space behind the Avon Police Department that burned down. So it's had a very checkered rental history. So it was a really big move for us to be able to make that leap and buy that building across the street.
And the new place, I've been in it, and it's beautiful and spacious and has really well-organized areas from what I've seen. And so talk about that and your volunteers, because this was really a huge volunteer effort to get everything into the building and get everything organized where it's very client-friendly.
Absolutely. We had about 700 volunteers help us with the move, including some professional movers, which was absolutely amazing. So we shut everything down on a Thursday. We started moving on a Friday and had clients on that following Tuesday. So it was really amazing. And the greatest part about this space is not just that it's ours, and there's a huge pride and ownership for us in that, but it's bright and it's airy. And our old location was in the basement, and it was underneath the Thai restaurant and underneath UPS, and it felt like very dark basement space. And this is gorgeous. It's bright. Franklin painters came in and painted before we got there. We had some carpeting donated. So it just is beautiful. And our clients are coming to us at probably one of the worst times of their lives, when they can't make ends meet and they don't know where to go, and they'd honestly rather be anywhere else on the face of the earth than in a food pantry. And for us to be welcoming them into a bright, airy, beautiful place makes all the difference in the world.
And that's fabulous. And you mentioned the painters, and you had quite a lot of help. I mean, you got a lot of support from the town of Avon, a lot of support from various companies, contractors, but it is expensive to undertake a move like that. So let's talk about the capital campaign, which is a really big endeavor for Gifts of Love right now.
Absolutely. We're just launching our capital campaign now. Our plan is to raise the money to pay for the building, plus have some cash reserve, because we have never really had a cash reserve before. So we think it's important to really plan for the future. We're not going anywhere. People say, where do you want to be 5 years from now? And I used to say, I'd love to be unemployed because I'd love to have the issue of hunger be gone. And that's just not happening. So now what we really need to do is plan for the future, and realize that we have come a long way in the past 5 years, and we are here to stay, and we want to have a cash reserve so that when we do have some bad years, like in 2008, we need to be prepared for that. So that really is our plan, to be able to put some money away and be a real solid organization.
And so what are some of the initiatives people will start seeing with the campaign? We talked a little bit about naming opportunities, things like that. How can people get involved in the campaign? Is this, you have to have $200 to give, or you can give $5? What are you looking for from the people in the area?
$5 to $5 million, everything in between. I guess I shouldn't even stop at $5 million. Just about anything. That has been the beauty, in my opinion, about Gifts of Love. Donation-wise and volunteer-wise, is little donations make all the difference to us. So we're looking at a $2 million capital campaign. So we're absolutely looking for large donors who want to invest in the organization. And we do have some naming opportunities. People can name the food pantry. We have 2 clothing rooms. One is the kids' clothing room, and one is the larger clothing room. But we're also looking for larger in-kind donations. We've been able to get a lot of in-kind donations to get us into the building. The next thing that we need gutters, and we need a new roof. So that will all be part of the capital campaign. If there's someone who would like to donate that, or donate it at cost, that can absolutely be part of the capital campaign. Because the alternative for us is to raise the funds to pay off the building and to do the upgrades that we need to do and pay for those out of the capital campaign funds. So if someone wants to donate that, they can absolutely do that. And then there are also some little things that we want to do. Next year we also want to do a brick walk in front of the building, so that people can buy bricks in honor of someone, a teacher, Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops can buy those, someone's birthday, anniversary. So we want to make sure this is a community event, not just large donors, but for everyone.
Fantastic. And it's a very busy year for Gifts of Love, because in addition to the move and the launching of the campaign, there is a merger coming up with the Community Farm of Simsbury, which is kind of, some information has been out and about around that topic. So let's talk about what the merger is, what it means for the farm, for Gifts of Love, how it came about, and really give some people some background information on that.
Absolutely. And nothing's been finalized that yet, so we're still working on the merger, but it really looks like that's the direction that we're going. And for us, it's been a little bit frustrating because we've been working with the community farm for about 4 years. We've shared a staff person for the past 4 years. We work on events together. Gifts of Love got a car donated a couple years ago, and the community farm shares the insurance. So the way we originally looked at this is, when we first thought about merging, it's like we're living together. So now we want to get married and have a prenuptial agreement, but we're already sharing a kid, which is our shared staff person. So for us, it made perfect sense. But once you get lawyers involved who are looking at all the fine details, it takes a little bit longer to get everything to go through. But we feel like we have been 2 organizations that have worked so well together for the past 4 years that we really want to make it a more formal partnership.
And some of that working together is things like food from the farm goes to the Gifts of Love food pantry, which not a lot of people are actually aware of, but that's some of the reasoning behind sharing a staff member and right. that. So talk about some of those programs and the things that have gone on over the last couple of years that led you to feel like this is a great decision, we'll just really become one.
Absolutely. About 4 years ago, we got a grant for a fresh fruits and vegetables program along with our volunteer program. And what I thought was going to have to happen is we were going to have a plot behind Nassau's Furniture, which is where the town of Avon has their town plots. And I thought we would have clients come to the food pantry for non-perishable food and then kind of go pick their own food behind Nassau's Furniture. And we would have a staff person, a seasonal staff person sitting in the field. Not a perfect situation, but we thought that that was a good plan to get more produce into the hands of our clients. At the same time, the community farm of Simsbury started up at the Old Town Farm Dairy, and they're leasing the land from the town with the one restriction being that they grow food for low-income people. And at that point, they didn't know who the low-income people were. They were really starting this farm to have educational programs for kids, to have an incubator farming program for people that wanted to try to figure out how to be farmers across the street. And so they started looking around, seeing who are the low-income people we can donate food to. It's absolutely Simsbury Social Services, but they're growing produce on a 1-acre teaching garden, and that's a lot of produce. So I was lucky enough to be watching them kind of spring up. So I called the executive director and said, I just got funding for a seasonal person, and you have funding for a seasonal person. So how about if we share that person, and you can continue to grow food for Gifts of Love in that 1-acre teaching garden, but in the winter she can help us work with grocery stores to get produce into Gifts of Love, and also to grow food in the High Tunnel, which is an unheated greenhouse out at the farm. So it was a beautiful thing for us. And the best part is we could hire people who were really talented and offer them a full-time job. Because a lot of times when you have seasonal people, you get a great person who then goes off for their next seasonal job. So we could offer her a full-time job so she could stay. And Maggie Saska is the farmer out there now, and she's amazing. So it's been a great partnership for us. It really has.
Fantastic. And moving forward, you will continue that relationship, and also the farm will continue its educational programs, its incubator farming program. You'll obviously consider, as Gifts of Love, the separate client portion. How is that going to work? A lot of people look at it and say, I don't really see the future for these two organizations, but you really will continue coexisting with separate programming, but also maybe a little bit more together.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons we started talking about this almost a year and a half ago is the former executive director of the farm and I were building raised garden beds at the Avon Senior Center, because we had just done the life cycle of the plant program together, where the community farm teachers come and help kids plant a seedling. And usually the kids plant the seedling and they bring it home and it dies. And like I said, that's the life cycle of the plant. And so instead, they would plant a seedling that we could use either at the community farm or at the Avon Senior Center. So the kids are bused to the farm to grow their seedlings at the same time as kids from Hartford who have done the same program in their classrooms are bused to the farm as well. So it's an inter-district program as well. But when Tim and I were planting these raised garden beds at the senior center, at about 2 o'clock he said, you know, I gotta go, I have to go back, I have to return phone calls, I have to make sure payroll's done, I have to see what kind of faxes have come in, I have to check my email, and I'm thinking, I don't have to do that. Why don't I have to do that? And it's because I have 135 volunteers, and I have a staff of 7 people. And they really have my back, and they are so good at that office support. So we started thinking, if we could be doing their back office support, that would free the staff at the farm up for what they do best, educational programs and growing food. So our volunteer coordinator will be getting volunteers out at the farm. We get calls for big groups all the time. She can coordinate that so that no one at the farm has to waste their time doing that. We're also going to have a phone system that will roll over to Gifts of Love. So when someone calls the farm and they're all out in the field, it's going to ring 4 times and then roll over to Gifts of Love so our volunteers can answer the phone and hopefully answer 80 to 90% of the questions that that person is going to ask, again, freeing up the farm staff to do what they do best. And then coordinate on events as well. The farm does farm-to-table dinners, and we've got the volunteers and the staff to help out with those events. So it seems like a really good mix for us. And again, we feel like we've been doing this already, so now we're just making it more formal.
So a lot of community involvement for Gifts of Love through that avenue, reaching out. And it's not the only way that Gifts of Love reaches out to the community. In addition to having your clients that come in, you also do a lot of work to reach out to people in need. So, for example, the backpack program. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about what that is and kind of explain that and how you're reaching kids in need directly through that program.
Absolutely. That's our weekend food backpack program, mostly for kids who are on free and reduced lunch. There are a lot of concerns about what those kids are doing over the weekend for food. And there were reports about kids who were hoarding their free and reduced lunch to bring it home over the weekend, or bringing their free and reduced lunch home to siblings not in school. So we really thought that that's not acceptable for us. So what we do is we take just very plain backpacks and we fill them up with snacks, and we try to do a whole dinner, noodles and stew or pasta and sauce. We try to do breakfast food and snacks for the kids to use during the week. And we have volunteers that stuff those and then bring them to 25 schools in the Farmington River Valley and West Hartford. And the kids on the way to the bus line or pickup line just stop and grab their backpack and bring it home, use the food over the weekend, snacks during the week, and bring the empty backpack the following week, and the volunteers fill it up all over again. So people think there isn't a need for that kind of a program, but in the Valley we have 1,000 kids on free and reduced lunch. So those are 1,000 kids living below that 42,000 family of four poverty line. In West Hartford has 2,000. So we have about 25 schools on the program and about 100 kids that get backpacks every week.
That's
so
fabulous.
It's a huge program. And people, social workers at the schools have really seen a dramatic change in those kids. Like on Fridays, the kids would get really antsy and not be thinking about school and be very disruptive, because all they're thinking about is, when I get home, is there going to be food? And what we've been able to say is, don't worry about it. You know, study, hang out in school, be good. We can guarantee that there will be food in your house this weekend. As long as you pick up that backpack, that's one thing you don't have to worry about. And then kids also think that they're part of the solution, because they know something's going on at home if there's no food. So they're not a drain on that food supply. They're actually bringing something in to the family. So it's a great program.
Filling backpacks with food. Also, as we go back to school, filling backpacks with school supplies. That's been great. Talk about that a little bit.
We plan to give out about 720 backpacks with school supplies. So the Hartford was kind enough to donate 500 backpacks, which was huge for us. But what we do is we get online and look at the lists by grade, and then our volunteers will stuff those backpacks based on the grades. So when our clients come in this month, we know how old their kids are, so they'll get a backpack for a kindergartner or a second grader, middle schooler.
That's great.
Yeah, it goes from nursery school to high school.
But back to the food, you had mentioned that sometimes you put breakfast food in, maybe for Monday morning. Let's talk about the really exciting thing going on with school breakfast throughout the Farmington Valley, but I know it's going to be new for Avon this year, and getting breakfast to kids who need it, and which includes everybody.
It does include everyone. That is a great way to look at it. We've been working on school breakfast. Gifts of Love is part of the Farmington Valley Hunger Collaborative with social service agencies and food pantries in Simsbury, Avon, Canton, and Farmington. And this has been an issue for the collaborative for quite a while. And about a year and a half ago, Canton got school breakfast in all of their schools. And we've been working on Avon for almost 7 years, as long as I've been around. And they're finally going to start it this September. So their plan is to have it be a grab-and-go system, where once kids get there, they can go to the cafeteria and get cereal and milk, or a granola bar, a muffin, things like that to bring to the classroom. It's possible they're not going to start right away in Thompson Brook, which is a 5-6 school, because they're going to have a chef-to-school lunch program, which is equally cool. So I'm very excited about that. They want to get healthier alternatives into school lunches. So school breakfast is huge for us. And you're right, it's not just about kids who are on free and reduced lunch, although that is a huge issue. It's also for kids that have to go to school early, if they need extra help, or they're part of the Leo Club or Arioso, which is a singing group. And they get there at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and school doesn't start till 8:30, and lunch isn't until noon. So it's great for these kids to be able to grab something before school and have something to eat between way early in the morning and lunch. So it's wonderful.
That's great, and we've talked a lot about the kids, but one thing that I love about Gifts of Love, and I think is important to note, is especially when you've got a capital campaign coming up and people are looking to donate and really wondering what their money is going toward, you help the whole family. Families helping families is the motto, and I really like that when you go into Gifts of Love, everything's well organized and you can choose what you need and you can give the client some choice, and it's not in some of your programs, something like a backpack program, somebody does get something that's pre-packaged for them because it is encompassing everything they need. But a lot of other ways, that person gets to retain their own dignity in terms of choosing, this is what I want, this is what fits my style or my need. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. It's a big initiative for us to be a client choice pantry, because a lot of pantries, someone will show up and they'll just hand them a bag of food. and that, in our opinion, is very wasteful in a lot of ways because there may be a lot of food in there that the family doesn't eat or doesn't want. So we've been a client choice pantry for quite a while. Also, food allergies and gluten-free and all those kinds of things. We make a huge effort to get those kind of products into the food pantry because they're really expensive, and if someone needs that, that's something that we would like to be able to provide for them. But it's also been really great for our volunteers because, we have signs saying how much people can take based on family size and things like that, so we can stretch our food as much as possible. But our volunteers are so good when they have a vegetarian or something like that, being able to really make sure that person gets enough food, because we have a lot of meat that we get through direct donations from ShopRite. But if someone's a vegetarian, we need to make sure they're taking other things instead of that. So we have great volunteers. They just really know what they're doing, and they're very respectful of our clients. So
Great.
It's nice.
And a lot of great events going on to support all of the programs at Gifts of Love. You just had Ready, Set, Cook, which was at the farm. And let's talk about that. That was an awesome event. I was there.
You were there. Ready, Set, Cook is a great event. It's based on a TV network show called Chopped, and it really was more like Chopped this year than ever before. Each team could bring a knife and a pan, and they got a basket full of food. And they had snapper this year, and cactus, and some Thai cucumbers, I think they were.
Chocolate rocks.
And chocolate rocks. It was very bizarre. Chip Miller put those baskets together. And the chefs had 45 minutes to make one dish using all of those ingredients. That's really all they had. We did also give them produce from the community farm, because you can't be at a farm and look at that beautiful produce and not go grab some things. But they did a great job. It was really fun.
And the chef from Cugino's won.
Cugino's won,
But it was a fierce competition.
It was. It was. I think everyone did a really great job.
So that was a great event. And now, right around the corner, another one coming up, Night Out in Style, is in November.
Yep, November 9th.
And so what is that going to be like for people who may not have been before?
That's our largest event. We're going to have it at Farmington Gardens this year. We've got a live auction and a silent auction. And it's really our biggest fundraiser of the year. So a lot of great restaurants are coming with food, Cash Bar.
Always have some celebrities involved.
Always have some celebrities involved. Ray Dunaway is coming this year as the MC. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
It is fun.
So absolutely, it's a fun event.
And then the gala is the next big one after that, right?
That is the same one.
Fire and Ice?
Yeah,
Oh,
Fire and Ice.
cool.
Yeah, we used to call it Night Out in Style because it had a fashion show. And then when we got rid of the fashion show, we started calling it Fire and Ice instead. So we can only handle one big event in the fall. That's all we can handle.
It's going to be a big deal. A lot of fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
And we're looking forward to being at Farmington Gardens also.
Yeah, it's a great
beautiful
venue,
space.
very nice space, and hoping for the largest crowd ever this year.
We're hoping, absolutely.
So that's awesome. All right. So anything else you want to share about the organization? A lot going on. New website rolling out.
New website rolling out. Yep.
Same address
absolutely.
though. All right. And so people can go there, find some information about the capital campaign, learn how to give, learn about the programs.
Yep.
So it's going to be great.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for this discussion about Gifts of Love.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.